this business went from 0 to 1 million in 3 months.
Once you've hit your first like 10K or 20K, you immediately usually put that kind of like horizon onto 100K.
This is what I mentioned here. If you're looking to get to 100K, ignore the noise. Look at the ad account. 7 days, ad spend push. Are we growing?
The only thing you need to do is get that obsession on the creatives.
So focus on your ad spend, what's working, scale it more, rather than just, I'll do all these things and I will make much more money.
I was so full of hope that like, this is gonna be the thing, right? And then what happened at the end of it, it was like some massive bill I needed to be paid to get so much stock into these hundreds of thousands. I was like, I can't do it. I asked him, I'm like, so it was January, and I said, so what would you like to be at by the end of this year? And he was about 10K a month. And he was like, 30K, 30 by the end of this year. And I was like, sorry, what? Hamen, welcome back. We've got a great episode this morning planned. So super excited for this one.
Excited. So we're going to talk about a lot of things. If you're thinking about your business right now, you want to grow, this is the episode.
Yeah, I think this is going to be particularly valuable. I don't know, we were sharing earlier, and last week we went into that launch kind of like strategy to help founders to scale, really just to launch, like get that initial traction across some of those key areas or main like launch platforms. And this week we want to go into more around, so, okay, you've run your successful launch, you're making $10,000, $20,000 a month, and you want to get to 100K a month. That's usually like the first milestone where it's like, okay, product's working, ads are kind of working, I want to get to 100 grand a month. And so we're going to make this very tactical, and we're also going to make this kind of like recorded in a way whereby this is like a personal message or a personal broadcast to you if you're listening to this in that stage. Like, this is like your blueprint to follow. Like, we're going to make this very, very, very easy to action, easy to follow, easy to understand, so that you can actually get yourself in a position where you're at that $100,000 per month level. So very, very relevant topics if you're in those two zones. And if you're not in those two zones yet, listen close, because we're going to reference some of the brands that we have in our portfolio here at the start in that 10 to 20K range. And you might be able to just pull away some things and learn some things from them to get you to that level quickly.
The view on this would be, if you're like, we talked about 0 to 10K, which is a very challenging level. So really building that momentum initially, getting the sales. The next level is, can you scale? And I mentioned this many times to a lot of people I talk to, like, hey, you're making money, but you need to look at the bigger picture. You need to scale a business. It's not just about you. It's about building a brand. It's never just, I'll take like some profit and I'm done. It should be expansion, hiring, building a bigger team, outsourcing. You can only do this if you actually push more volume. And like, we have many brands that are just, they get to 10K and then they're thinking about what to do next. Like, would I just do the same thing, or is there something new? And I've seen this many times. And actually, I think you also do a lot of strategy sessions around how to scale from certain levels to other levels. And it's really about the inputs. What are you doing in your business to actually get there? Playing 0 to 10K is very different than 10K, 100K. And it's also very different than 100K to 200, 300K, because we have different inputs.
So let's, because like what you mentioned there is so true. It's the most challenging to go from like 0 to 10K. Highest difficulty, most amount of variables. Things are very, very tough. So we've seen now a lot, probably the largest percentile of new brands launching, and it seems as though they launch and go from 0 to 20K a month to 30K a month very quickly. So perhaps let's just break a little bit of that down in terms of why some of those brands have been more successful very quickly, to see if we can give people some takeaways if they're in that kind of 0 to 10 stage, right? It's like, these are some of the key behaviors, these are some of the key kind of like inputs, for example, that have got them there. And then we'll switch gears and we'll go into the kind of like scaling up to 100K level.
Absolutely. So if I was to look at like some brands here, and I'm gonna like actually reveal the brands, just in terms of like just elements, and you guys can check them out. You have, for example, in the case of Stash, it's a brand that was just built very fast with organic. So this is a case where we have no ad spend, and she just built it with content right away. Very unique product, and just scale it very fast. Actually, when I was looking at the numbers, it's very impressive building to 10K within like every launch. We talked about this as a case study. You just get like all inventory sold out within like less than 30 days, probably within like less than 10 days, which is pretty fast in terms of just growth. That's the case of a 10K with just organic, no paid ads. We have also some brands that say, if I was to look at a lot of them, we have Simple Linen Co. She's actually doing right now 20K, where she joined one of my calls and she was like, literally, I saw this, like I worked with my account manager, saw an ad like that we saw in terms of the competition. And I took that ad, I just used it in my business, and it just like everything was just like crazy from there. And she was able to scale pretty much to 20K. She actually got to 10K the first month. And then she was doing 20K within 90 days per month. And she was like, literally, I want to scale, I want to get into the US, which I think it's a good thing to look at, expansion from Australia to the US. But for particularly this case, I'll actually tackle this in terms of you can actually get much more volume just within Australia, and we can talk about that in terms of scale. So another case, we have in Malaysia. She built her brand. She's actually doing 20K as well right now. She started very quickly, get to 10K within 90 days from her launch. And in her case, I would say that things were more around like the higher ticket level. So she's actually talking to a specific avatar, and that was a
Yeah.
very quick as well, like launch. I have many cases if I was to actually analyze all the brands we have in terms of like how fast they build that momentum. But the thing would be you get to the 10K and then you think about what to do next. Like, okay, what to do next? And I think for all these brands, it was always a specific avatar and they're solving a specific problem, and they're actually looking at the right structure in terms of the launch that matches their resources. Stash, she went with organic, probably paid ads was more challenging in terms of its resources. And the others, they were able to put the paid ads first and really get to that avatar in another manner. So I would say those brands actually, they have a unique product and also a specific avatar. And we adapted the resources to the business.
Yeah, it's definitely like an alignment because like, and I was saying this to the team yesterday I believe it was in one of the morning calls. I was breaking down a whole bunch of these brands, and I think I was talking about the Dry Baby company, and I think she's also doing around about 20K a month in the first 2 months, or maybe 3 months or something like that. I think it is very
Yes,
quickly, right?
very quick.
And I was kind of like looking at it from the perspective of like what she's done really well is she's done that founder led content, right? And so I was like, if somebody came in, right, and they were like, I want to do the same thing and I want to like copy that brand, like you could go and copy that product and you could go and sell that product, but because she's like really using her like competitive advantage, she's okay to get on camera, she's okay to do these like interesting, funny, different kind of reels and TikToks that are, they really cut through and they resonate, right? And so like it positions her in a way where she's using like her own resources, similar to what you said, and she's able to put herself in a position and a market and an advantage where her profit much, much higher, scalability so much higher. And again, like people could be selling the same product as her or something maybe similar, and they probably wouldn't get the same results because like I'm buying into this like story, this like founder led story. I'm buying into this personality. Like that's exactly what my kid does when I, put him at the table and have him try and eat food or whatever it might be. It's like they're buying into that more than just like, this is the product. It's going to help your baby with X. And this is what I was going into a lot with, for example, some of the team members yesterday was like, when these founders come in, especially when new founders come into our programs, a lot of the time they come in with this idea of like, what are the profit margins, or like how much profit am I going to make, or how profitable are your products? And I'm like, look, pal, like we don't give you a product and say, here's your product, here's your profit margin, right? I'm like, the beauty of what we do is we help you to, unveil what's already kind of like inside of you. I bet you all these founders that came in and developed their products, they didn't immediately be like, I'm going to fix this problem and I'm going to make this product and I'm actually really talented at this. And you know what? I'm going to tell my content story on TikTok because it's very unique. It's like through the process, they've like pulled out all of these unique things about themselves and they've started to build that into their brand. And so it's like, because of those things, it strengthens their profit and it makes them so much more valuable as an operator and as a business. You know what I'm saying by that?
Yes, absolutely. If you look at, let's say, a brand, even like this is a recent launch with Birdie Mafia, he actually got to 10K pretty fast. Like he reached, I think, 10K like 2 weeks ago, or sorry, a week ago.
Yes.
And it was really a case of a very unique product in a very specific niche, which is like the golfing space. But that's unique to him, and it's not necessarily something that you should look at. Hey, I'm just going to launch in this space because it's let's say the best space right now. It's more of it's adapted to him, and he got to 10K pretty fast. With actually, I was looking at his profit levels with 30% plus, and he was asking me, "Is it a good profit level? Am I actually making like a good progress?" And literally, we impact the same thing in a coaching session in terms of how to scale from that 10K to 50K to 100K, which is the same thing. You look at all these brands, they're getting 10K, they're thinking about what to do next. And that's the thing. Once you get to 10K, you have that uniqueness already, validation already. It's really just pushing to the next level.
Yeah. And it's funny. I think, is it Nathan? Is it? I think his name is.
Nathan.
He came on to one of my calls, and I think he was just shy of his that first 10K. And I was like, "Oh, so like, what's your ROAS at the moment?" And he was like, "Oh, I think it's about like 5 or 6 or something." I was like,
"That's a good ROAS."
He's like, "Is that good?" And I'm like, "It's okay. Yeah, it's okay." I'm like,
same thing. He was asking me about it, the profit levels. He was like 30% plus. Is it good? I'm like, yes, absolutely. That's a good profit level.
Are there any other things that you've seen, Hamen, that really, I guess they're kind of like factors as far as like these early stage brands? Maybe we can reference some of the other ones. Like what I see from my side is like there's this alignment between like the avatar that they're solving being really specific, and then the founder uses like some of their maybe like resources, some of their storytelling, maybe some of their content creation strategies that they didn't even know that they had, to kind of like give them this extra positioning. Are there any other things that you think like key ingredients or key parts of like these brands that are currently like really driving forward and generating some pretty good success pretty quickly that you think people really need to pay attention to?
Absolutely. So I've seen, technically our position is to extract that information when they when they work on their business. They kind of bring that uniqueness. Our goal is to amplify that, kind of push them to the next level with the media buying and kind of guiding them in that process. So all of these brands we mentioned, they had the uniqueness. They saw that solution. Most of the time, they are actually the avatar. So they're actually picking the product because they are the avatar. Like if I was to look at 90% of the time, they saw this problem. They actually looking to solve a problem in the market, and we were pushing them toward like advertising it, how to expand with that problem and kind of how to solve it properly, manage the risk when they're launching. So I would say the common thing is like they saw a problem and we're advertising that solution. Pretty much, it's like a problem solving product. I would say that would be a big one in terms of an element. Other thing would be that kind of pushing them into media buying or the best position for their business. Sometimes it's organic, which is the case here with Stash, but others it's really looking at media buying, forcing in terms of their position in the market, and really helping them kind of navigate that part, both in terms of content structure, in terms of offer, pricing. For example, Birdie Mafia, I remember him joining one of my calls, and he had an initial offer and he adjusted the offer like pretty much within the first week because it was not necessarily adapted. And that's when we saw that push. And also he was not aware of a lot of things in terms of how fast he should change his website, like adjusting the landing pages. He was really doing a lot of changes in the calls initially. And then he attended some of the coaching and he was like, thank God that I actually attended the call because I was just doing so many changes. And since then, he actually looked more at the data and optimize. So once you have the product and you're in that position, we help you looking at the numbers, making decisions, and avoiding the mistakes that can cost you a launch.
Because I think one of the things like that we see as, I guess like, and especially you, because you're like in the trenches and you're like, on the calls with a lot of the clients on a week to week basis, is like, they don't see what you see. As an example, perfect example with the Birdie Mafia, it's like, is 30% profit good? Is 5.5x ROAS good? And so like you might see something like that and be like, oh goodness, let's scale this. You know what I mean? Let's go fast. And so like
that's what I told him, literally.
Exactly. Versus like, for example, if that founder was sitting there by themselves and they were like not really knowing, and they're kind of like looking at their ad account, they're looking at some numbers, they're like, oh geez, is this working? Is this good? I don't really know what to do. And so like, I think one of the benefits of like this type of environment, especially in relation to like having more senior people further along than you, is like, yes, that's good. Let's go. Yes, that's good. Let's go. Like it's almost like you see more in the brand than they see themselves. And then because of that, we push them to grow much quicker than, I guess, what they would potentially grow by themselves, I imagine.
Absolutely. It's actually the case even to look at, let's say, case studies that we have with like Q1 with Reese when he scaled fast, like his brand, it was the same thing. He was actually pausing the ads, like literally he mentioned this, I think, in one of the like the sessions we had, but really he paused the ads thinking that it was just, it's time to go defensive, right? And it was the opposite. You should go offensive. So there are some things that when you look at your business, you're not aware of what's the next thing. It feels like almost like you're driving in darkness, and there's like you don't know what to do. It's uncertainty, darkness. And if you have someone that already did this, it's almost like they're telling you, but you know what? You should keep trade. Oh, you know what? You need actually to churn right now because we know that this is potentially the best position for you. So there are things that as you progress, someone did this before and they did this many times. It's almost like you don't have to worry about that. You can kind of drive with confidence. And that's why running the ad spend, scaling a business is so challenging because you don't know what you don't know, and you need to predict and keep the ad spend going and optimize, which is very challenging.
And it's like it's a great analogy in terms of like helping them to see around the future corners that they don't even know are coming yet, and then being able to like train that attention. So moving forward into I guess like the next stage for most of these founders, like I always think about it, it's like once you hit your first like 10K or 20K, you immediately usually put that kind of like horizon onto 100K. Yes. That's where I want to get to. I want to hit 100K a month. I want to, be $1 million company. I want to be, really in that 7-figure level. And so it's like, it seems very close, but then it also seems like so far away. Like I remember when some years ago, 2-3 years ago, and it's so funny because this was one of my favorite stories, especially in relation to Tom from Happy Saffy. So this was like at the start of the year, we had a call together. This must have been 3 years ago now. 3 years ago, potentially sitting right here in the office. And I asked him, I'm like, so it was January. And I said, so what would you like to be at by the end of this year? And he was about 10K a month, right? By the end of this year, what would you like to be at? And he was like, 30K, 30 by the end of this year. And I'm like, sorry, what? And he just didn't know, right? He couldn't see like what was possible. He couldn't see like how quickly you could actually grow. And I think by June, July of that same year, I think it was end of financial year, this same time we're in right now, he had done 110, 120,000. And then by the end of the year, Black Friday, I think he was at like 200 and something thousand. So it's just like once you do have those key blocks in place, like it can move so quick.
Absolutely.
It really, really, really can. So talk to me about it from your perspective. What do you see in terms of maybe some of the brands that you're working with at the moment within the community that you're like, this is what they do, or these are some of the things that, we see really common that the founders do to go from like 10 to 20 up to 100?
Absolutely. So first, I actually seen this problem, just to come back a little bit in history and then we'll tackle today, but this problem I saw it in 2020, right? In 2020, I was looking at a brand where I was actually partnering with this owner and he had the resources, I had the marketing, and it was kind of a good partnership in terms of our focus. And we were looking at, hey, we're going to launch, we're going to get to 10K. Literally, that was the goal, like get to that first 10, 20K. And we're not necessarily looking at targets specifically, but we were like, we're going to go as big as possible. It was a beauty product that he saw in the Korean market. And the idea was to launch this beauty product in the US market. And this was pretty much, we prepared everything and COVID happened. So it was like, COVID, we need to action, and it was a little bit stressing, but we were like, hey, let's ignore COVID, let's run the ads, and just make it happen, right? Thing is, the first week, the moment I run the ads, I saw like kind of the ROAS positive, and I started scaling the ad spend. So we got to, I think, probably 20K within 10 days, which is pretty fast, right? And then this is where I saw the first level of I need to unlock to the 100K, because I was pretty much at that level very happy first, but I was not necessarily pushing that bar. Right, I was already like running like some portfolio of clients, but they were not necessarily scaled that much, so I was afraid, right? But I looked at how about we do this process on a weekly basis instead of a monthly. So how about I just scale right now my ad spend this week, and then I can keep doing this just gradually. So what happened is this business went from 0 to 1 million in 3 months, and I was just looking at every single week, and I documented this like process entirely of. Every week, we increase the ad spend. Sometimes we double, sometimes we triple, but we just do it every single week. So I kind of zoomed in a little bit instead of going, hey, we're going to get to a month. I actually was looking at a weekly basis, which was less stressing for me. And at the same time, it was almost like I gradually kind of open, like put that light in and kind of unlock that level one step at a time, rather than you can actually look at this like exercise where you're coming to the gym. Instead of looking at all the different exercises, you can just focus on one, do the theory, and then move to the other one. So that's what I did with him. And we ignored the sales. And actually, he told me to not look at the sales in Shopify anymore. He's like, don't look at that. Just look at the ROAS in your account and keeps increasing the ad spend, because I don't want you to have that mental block of I can't spend 20, I can't spend 30. And I just trusted that. I was like, I'll leave the logistic to you and I will just focus on, I'll increase the budget every single time, ignore the emotion, scale the budget. And we, keep in mind, we got to the million and the level where we actually were at that level, like 0 to 300,000, 400,000 a month with pretty much like 90 days. And I was like, that's
Wow.
amazing. And
Wow.
this is, I think, the same kind of inputs that I used since then. And for example, when we had one of our clients joining in with eCom Capital, she was already doing a good volume. She kind of like have that validation done, and when she started like working with us, she was like, I want to scale, but I don't know exactly like how to get to that level. And she was working with an agency, and obviously she joined us to help us unlock the levels because she was like, I need media buying support, but also I need to understand why. Like, how can I do this for my business so I can scale it? And we pretty much scaled her to 80K. Right now she's doing 80K a month, and her brand is Blue Lotus. You can actually check that out. And when we scaled her business, it was the same process. We looked at a week, what's happening in a weekly basis. She was actually looking to launch new products. I tried to put her into a position of one product. You focus on 1 to 2, your top products, and you scale the budget and you do nothing else. And it feels like you're doing nothing initially. It feels like I'm not doing that much things. It's just like, can I get to 100K without any adjustment, without any changes in the offer? Yes, you can just do what you're doing, just do it more, increase the volume. It's not do more products, it's do more volume of ad spend. So I started pushing weekly ad spend with her, and she scaled pretty fast from 40, 50K level to like a 80 right now. And actually, she was literally telling me in a call not long ago, 100K is within reach. Like I don't have a problem with that. We're gonna get to the 200K, which would change entirely the business structure.
Yeah. So just to break that down a little bit, because it's so funny when you say that, it's like the most simple thing to do, just increase ad spend, you know, and every single time that I've ever, witnessed this across any brand or any company in general, after you're standing on the other side of it, meaning like we've gone from like 10 to 100, or we've gone from 200 to a million, whatever it is, if you look back over what just happened, you're kind of just like, okay, well, we were spending 20K a month, and then now we're spending 120K a month. It's always that simple. And the fascinating thing is every single time that happens, you're always like, yeah, but I need to like have more products, or like I need to be like in the US market. And every single time I've looked back over that growth journey, I'm like, okay, so we just had more ad spend and it was, good quality creatives that allowed us to scale. Okay. Like it's the most simple thing. It's the most simple thing. So, and I think that's why it's so hard, because like it's even Naira was saying this to me when she, like, we're really pushing to scale Basu at the moment. And she was like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. And, and you were just like, no, we are spending more on ads and that is it. You know what I mean? It's like, let's just do that one thing. It's so challenging for people to like wrap their head around that. Like the only thing you need to do is get that obsession on the creatives, and scale your ad spend.
And scale the ads. Also, there is something that I would give that's a little bit technical that actually helped me evaluate the pace of the ad spend. So if you go to the ad account and you click on last 7 days, you can click on compare, which is an option in the ad account that would allow you to compare 7 days, the 7 days versus the previous ones. And you can the moment you click on compare, you can click on the column with the amount spent, and you're going to see a percentage, which is like either positive or negative. I evaluate this. Are you scaling? Like, are you pressuring like things last week versus this week? What percentage? I would do minimum 20% increase like every single week. You can literally compare to previous week. And if you see that you're negative in that like the ratio, or you're 0%, or you're not increasing the ad spend above 20%, we have a problem. You're not moving forward. You're actually stagnating, which is very bad in eCom. When you're just every week you're spending the same amount, or you're actually going backward, you're actually having like a negative number. That's how I evaluate quickly. Are we moving forward, or are we like kind of staying the same, or are we going down? If you see that you're going down for like the last 2-3 weeks, it's actually a problem. One of the things I mentioned to Birdie Mafia, and I have a call with him, and he was like, I want to get to 50K a month. I was like, literally, can you look at that number? We clicked on it. He was doing about already 20% plus, because he scaled to 10K. So I was actually I was not surprised. And then we were like, okay, how about you keep scaling 20% every single week? And you just look at your ROAS, monitor that, but we should be spending this amount of money to get that target. If you're not spending the amount to get there, don't expect the numbers. To get to 100K with 3 ROAS, you need to spend at least 30K. That's 1,000 per day. So I would really put those targets in front of you, and you need to get them. If you don't get the target, don't expect the returns.
Yeah, it's such an easy way to think about it. So you mentioned you on a weekly basis, it's like you change some of it, especially with this brand that you mentioned, you went from like $0 to $1 million in the first 90 days. So and I'm a big believer in this as well, in terms of like, if you want to accelerate kind of the growth, or if you want to accelerate the results you produce in anything, increase the frequency that you measure it, right? And so it's like what you said there. It's like, we don't set monthly budgets, or we don't set like quarterly budgets. Like we're literally looking at budget on a weekly basis. What are we doing from this week till next week? And then go. And so when you were mentioning that before, you changed a little bit of the orientation from this monthly situation to a weekly situation. You're looking at it on 7 days. What are some of the key things that you're looking at in the ad account or with the budgets, or how are you breaking that down specifically so that people might be able to kind of take away some of those things? Is it just the comparison tool? Is it just your ROAS? Like, talk to me about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So I'll look at first, I would not decrease the ad spend unless we have 2 weeks of consistent underperformance. So that's the first thing. I need 2 weeks of instability for me to make an action of actually decreasing the ad spend. Because if you just have 1 week your ROAS dipped, like, hey, I'm pausing, it just might be just 1 week. A bad week doesn't mean like it's a bad business or it's a bad thing. So I'll look at it from that perspective. First, I need at least 2 weeks of underperformance for me to decrease the pace, or kind of maintaining to that neutral level. That's the first thing. 2 weeks. If you have a fast conversion cycle, 2 weeks. If you have a slower one, so it's like a longer one, then probably it's going to be longer for me to adjust the ad spend, because you just need more time to confirm things are actually not good. So that's the first thing. Second would be, I'll look at the ROAS. If my ROAS is above break even, which I know some people would be like, hey, above break even is not necessarily very positive, I'll actually keep scaling. Because most of the time, what would happen, I'll just give you like kind of a view on this. You're break even this week, and last week you were profitable. You scale your ad spend, and you say, let's say the ads are actually recovering. You're going to recover the pace of last week because you had a bad week, and then you're going to actually move faster. If you do the opposite, you actually maintain, you're going to get another week where even if it's very profitable, you didn't recoup last week in the performance. So I scale the ad spend to recoup my losses of, I would say, the previous bad week or any kind of bad period. And I almost all the time, the answer is increase your ad spend. If you have a wrong offer, it's not working, bad ROAS, increase your ad spend, test more creatives. If you have a bad, let's say, offer, same thing, increase the ad spend, split test the offer. If you have a bad, let's say, price, increase the price and increase the ad spend to recover the losses. So the answer is always increase the ad spend. That's the thing that would be surprising, is I would not have an answer of I'll decrease the ad spend.
Under what conditions would you decrease the ad spend?
As I mentioned, if I will decrease the ad spend if I don't have the inputs to increase the ad spend. So let's say I have a bad performance and it's a creative. I don't have the creatives. I will not increase the ad spend. I don't have the creatives. So we don't have the ingredients. But otherwise, for any business owner out there, and I'm not a fan of Meta or even support Mark, but increase the ad spend is the answer. Increase the ad spend. Increase the ad spend. You get 10K, 50K, 100K, increase the ad spend. Bad offer, increase the ad spend. Test more offers. Bad creatives, increase the ad spend. Test more creatives. The answer is always increase the ad spend. But maintain the ad spend if you don't have a confirmation on something. Decrease the ad spend if you don't have the ingredients. If I tell you tomorrow you need your shoes to run and you tell me you don't have the shoes, I'll tell you, hey, don't run. There's no reason. But you don't have the ingredients. So it's always like that.
Yeah. Now, I want to kind of go a little bit into I guess the opposite of this, in terms of the kind of the blocks, the red flags, the shiny objects, the things that people kind of like do that is not get better creatives and scale ad spend. Everything else that comes up between 10 to 20K up until like 100K a month, because there are so many things that founders find important, urgent, must be done, very valuable, going to make the business a lot of money. Just wait until this distribution partner pays off. All of those stories that I've heard for years and years and years, I'm sure you have as well.
Yes.
Let's go into that in terms of what are some of the things you see most common in that kind of distraction phase, or that I need to do this or I need to do that, and that inherently just slows down growth.
Yes, I'll start with, actually, I'll mention some brands here, and I hope they don't take it badly. So Earthmatch, you're doing 5K a month, right now. You decrease your ad spend because you're actually, you're kind of focusing on some inputs in terms of your business and building that logistic part. But you mentioned partnership, and hey, I'm thinking about this partnership with this other company that would do some PR for me. No, that's a no.
Which brand is this? I'm sorry, I missed it.
It's Earthlash. Earthlash.
Got it. Yep.
It's Christine. She's actually a mastermind client, and she's actually scaled profitably. The first month, I think she got to 3,000-4,000. Second, she got into 5,000 plus. She decreased the ad spend because she ran out of stock. Technically, that's a good problem to have. But then she was like literally working on these things on the side, which I don't think it's a good thing to focus on too many things. Again, I'm not saying that's the only thing she's doing right now. She's actually working on creatives and offer. But she mentioned, I think, in her Slack channel that she is looking to maybe potentially just looking at the emails. And I saw the email about partnership with some PR and things like that. I would probably not do that. That's one distraction versus the creatives and the offer. And I keep saying this even to her when she joins the morning huddles. She's very much like, again, don't get me wrong, Christine is very smart. She built her business and she's looking to build an empire. So actually, this is her bio in school. I'm here to build an empire. So it's really good to see that. But as I mentioned, distraction is a problem, and I would say that's one thing. I'll also tackle actually the brand we talked about doing 80K, Blue Lotus, Becca. She's literally, I want to launch a new product, which I'm not against, because at her level, she's already doing 80K, like 200K a month. So it's actually good volume, but that's another distraction. And I think she can get to $1 million a month without even having to do that. So that's another, I would say, again, the distraction would be launching new products while your product is actually not scaled that much, and would be PR, going into PRs and kind of like hiring companies to just, advertise your product in a channel that you can't confirm. It's not necessarily profitable, in my opinion. Another one would be expanding to other platforms. We already talked about that. If you're running Meta, you're looking at TikTok and other, let's say, Pinterest and so on. I'll actually mention one brand I think is also in that category a little bit. Malaysia, she's profitable. She's running really good ad spend, but she mentioned, hey, like I have Google and Meta working. How about I do TikTok? And I was like, we're still at 20K. And she's also running out of inventory. So it's like, it doesn't even make sense. Like the logic of we need to focus on lead time and scaling the stock versus, and she's 20K profitable, scalable. And she was like, I just want to add another channel. I'm like, you're already profitable with Google and Meta. Why would you expand? And she actually reverted back on that after talking to me. But it just, those things would really distract you.
It's funny. I recall an old mentor of mine. Oh, geez. And he wasn't a mentor for very long. So this must have been like 4 years ago, I think, maybe four years ago. And one of the companies, eCom Capital, I was fishing. So it's one of the companies that we had was doing around about $100,000 per month at that point. And he was kind of like, okay, so this is very simple then. Like you've already made 100 per month. Like you just need to kind of like get your brand or get your product in front of more people. Like this seems very, very simple. Why don't you just start advertising on LinkedIn? Why don't you just really start pushing on TikTok? Why don't you start pushing on email, cold email? And so he pretty much told me the opposite to do. And it was fascinating because at that point in my time, I certainly wasn't as experienced with like doing all of these things, having them crash and burn, never making money from them, wasting money, and then seeing your actual business as usual reduce. I didn't have as many runs on the board with that. And so I remember like being in that conversation, and it was very, very interesting because I had this level of like, this is an expert telling me this. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that seems interesting. But at the exact same time, I was like crazy overwhelmed because I'm like, oh my goodness, you mean to say I need to learn LinkedIn? I need to learn TikTok? I need to learn cold outreach email? You know what I mean? It was so many things. And even just the idea of doing all those things put me into a state of like complete freeze, like where I was like, I don't even know what to do. You know what I mean? I was just like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know which option to start with. I don't know which one's going to generate the most profit. I don't know where to like deploy resources. And so it was like a really hard time in my business because of this kind of like advice around you should diversify. It's like you should be across multiple channels. You'll make more profit over here. This one might take off and it might be your main channel now. It's very risky for you to just be on Meta only. Like that's a very risky situation, and so like I also have done the opposite of, this strategy in terms of being and trying to be across a whole bunch of different platforms and strategies and systems and mechanisms. And it's like, the amount of overwhelm that you actually feel when you're in it, and the amount of like resources that you are constrained to, like a little bit there. Oh, I can't even think about it anymore. I'll try again next week. Oh, let's try this LinkedIn a little bit there. Oh, I can't. I need to get back to this over here. You know what I mean? It's like you're watching your business almost like die in front of you because you're trying so many things. It's a very, very challenging, very challenging situation that I think most founders go through.
Absolutely. I think you look at it from also your resources perspective. If you focus on one platform, you already got some results and you just ignore all the rest and look at the weekly. And this is what I mentioned here. If you're looking to get to 100K, ignore the noise, look at the ad account, 7 days, ad spend push. Are we growing? That's it. You keep doing this. If you're not growing, what is not happening? Increase the ad spend, fix it. Do this rotation. You have a lower CPC, increase the ad spend, test more creatives. You have a lower conversion rate, increase the ad spend, test your offer. You have any, again, part, your margins are not good, change the offer, change the price, increase it, increase the ad spend. Fix whatever it is there with one platform, increasing the ad spend and solving the problem. And then scale every week 20% to 50% ad spend. You're going to get to the 100K within probably like 2-3 months, and you'd be very surprised.
And the thing that I want to highlight as well here is that, like, this isn't just like a green light to you if you have really crappy performance to go and start scaling your ad spend.
No.
You know what I mean? While still working on, like, I'm not sure, JV partnerships or collaborations, or like, I'm not sure, like Instagram DM connections that are going to unlock this new market. It's like you can't do these things at the same time. And so, like, I just want to refer back to this because it's very important that the people listening actually get this. So it's like, you must obsess on the inputs. You know what I mean? And if you're every single week you're obsessing on your creatives, you're obsessing on your offer, you're tracking all your numbers every single week, and you're like, I'm good, I'm under control, I know exactly where my profit is, scale. You know, and if you're not doing that and your head's kind of like, oh yeah, I'll get to this stuff that these guys are saying soon. Let me just finish this partnership I'm communicating with, I'm not sure, Vogue magazine, because they're going to do a PR article in the magazine and I'm going to be recognized and I'm going to make zero money from it. You know, it's like, make sure you're doing the right things more than anything else.
Yes, and I've been there many times. Just again, like the brand owners listen to this and like, hey, like they're just like, so I know it's like it's happening, and I understand that position of I need to build more, and when they reach out, it's really difficult to say no. Like, hey, I'm not interested in this right now. I want to focus on my business. But I've been there many times. I actually have seen these things like more than 50 times where we have a message or we have something around this and we need to make a decision of just ignore it. I literally, like, we had a store where we're doing this again years ago, where we mentioned to the VA, please, whenever you see a PR, just ignore it. Just like, we don't even want to hear about it. So it was almost like ignore the noise. And this is something we did. Literally, think about this. A VA would be instructed to not report any PR because we're not interested. It just doesn't make sense for us. And this would like allow you to kind of see, well, what is the problem. The problem is you're not having returns right now in your ad account, or you're not scaling enough. We fix that first, and then we're going to get those people in once we're there. So it's really, let's build with what we have rather than getting those distractions. And I think actually Alex Hermosi mentioned this a lot with the women with the red dress, which is kind of like a distraction of how to look at some things, but it's the same principle. That's why I really look at it from focus and scale.
But it also, the woman in the red dress, she gets more attractive, and the red is even brighter when you're in a position where you are suffering, right? So say, for example, you've had a bad week or you had a bad month. Feels like everything's not working, feels like creatives are underperforming, feels like your business just doesn't work, right? If you have an email come through about some whiz-bang opportunity with a new magazine or a new partnership or a new collaboration, your likelihood to be like, maybe this is the thing. You know what I mean? You're so much more susceptible to actually being like, I think I need to try this. The whole meta ads thing, it's just not for me. Maybe I need to build my business on X platform. And it's like, God.
Actually, it's amazing the way you saw it. Like, I really, this is the first time I see it like inverted. It's actually, like, it's really good for brand owners that are actually struggling or having any challenges from the business. It gets more, like, it's more challenging. So it's really a good view on this, and I think a lot of brand owners will relate to this particular part.
But the thing, I'm saying that because I've been a sucker of so many of those shiny objects in moments of despair. Like, I remember, like 5-6 years ago, my meta 4 years ago, maybe my meta ads were just like really underperforming. Like, and it was just because I was not paying attention to them. I was filming creatives only when the creatives would tank. Like that would be my process. I'd be like, how's ad performance? Okay, well, we're losing money this week. Oh my goodness, let's get some creators. Let's get out there and start creating content. And then it would be like another week of producing the content. I'd be like, rush, push, 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 push. We'd get some new content live. Things would start performing better. And then I would just be like, great, let's continue doing other random things that don't actually contribute to growth. And I was in one of those downward seasons of like, the creatives were underperforming, things were, really, really, really hurting. And then there was this particular like collaboration partnership with like a distributor that was like, okay, we could get you a product. What was the name of the company? I can't recall. We could get you a product in all of our retail outlets all around Australia. Like this could be huge, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness, like this could actually completely change the business. And so like for that week and the next week and the next week, it must have been about a month of like full on, like I'm talking like negotiations and Zoom meetings and conversations. And I kind of just like put off the fact that in the background, profit was just getting destroyed. Ad performance was so bad because I was so full of hope that like, this is going to be the thing. Right. And then what happened at the end of it, it was like some massive bill needed to be paid to get so much stock into these hundreds of thousands. I was like, I can't do it. And I'm sitting there and I'm so angry at myself. I'm like, you just spent 4 to 6 weeks. You lost money the whole time in your business because you had this idea that this is going to save everything. And it's going to be like, oh my goodness, now my business is winning and succeeding. And it was just like, no, that was a complete waste of time. And then during that 4 to 6 weeks, you just lost money. Now you feel like an idiot. Go back to the main thing.
And you need to do the main thing again. So this is actually the
Oh,
more challenging part, which actually I would think about as like, how fast would you recover mentally and then do the work again?
correct. Correct. Yeah. I have a bit of a vendetta that I want to share with people in terms of email marketing. I hear a lot of people that are at like 10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. And I'm like, where does most of your time go? And they go, yeah, I'm spending a lot of time in my emails at the moment. And I'm like, I don't think that's a very good use of your time. Like I'm really optimizing my flows. I've got some new designs happening and I really want to check the discounting between this flow and this flow. And I've seen so many companies and they probably do 80, 100 grand a month, sometimes even 150 grand a month. And they have non-existent email. Like there's like maybe a welcome flow and that's it. You know what I mean? There's like nothing else. And then like you install some email into that company and it's like, oh, now we get an uplift on profit. Cool. But it's like, I have this massive belief that like, sure, set those things up. But it's funny because the way that I always think back to it is like, there's this principle in the book. It's called Outliers, where it's a book about, I might be able to get it from my shelf here. It's somewhere here. I can't find it now. It's a book about I think there's about 7 or 8 of the best, most prolific CEOs that existed in all of history. CEOs that like, by orders of magnitude, like beat the market by like 50, 200, 500, 700%. Huge. And that's why they're called outliers, right? And one of the principles that they talk about in this book is there's 2 types of a CEO, right? There's a CEO that has this ability to operational management, they call it, which is like, say, for example, you have a company, you can look back at the company, right, as the leader, and you can say, okay, well, let's change that department, let's optimize that process, let's fire that person, let's remove this whole department, and we'll get rid of all those people. Because you can look at it, you can see it, it's easier to make decisions, right? And then on the other side, he has this principle or concept of like capital allocation, right? And he's like, this is the most challenging thing that not a lot of CEOs can even do because it's very, very hard. And also you can't really see anything, right? If you're looking into the future and you're like, where should I place our money, our human resources, and our time? And you're looking at these variables and you're like plotting the path. And this is exactly why it's so challenging to sit there and, for example, like do the creative process or sit there and just create ads for weeks and weeks on end until you have a 5-6 ROAS because you can't see the benefit yet. You can't see the outcome. You can't see the result versus you jump into your Klaviyo account and you're like, ooh, now I'm going to make this thing yellow. And You know what I mean? You can see it, you can touch it. It makes you feel like you're doing something from it versus over here, you're like, it's a black box and it goes from now until forever. Where should I put my money? You know, it's like, it's that concept that I think makes it so hard.
Absolutely. I really believe that. Like what you just mentioned, Jamal, focus on what is the thing that's driving growth? Can I do more of it? Can I build something that's very scalable? If you're in the ad account, you know one creative helped you. How about you get 10? How about you build an army of creatives? Very
Mm.
challenging, right? You can say it. If it's a weekly thing, it's a continuum. We're never going to stop doing this. And that would give you the million a month, which is surprising versus just, hey, I'll focus on one like touchable element of my business and kind of play around with it.
I think one thing that excites me a lot at the moment is the the prospects of the conversation that we'll be having in, I imagine, 6 months' time, perhaps even 3 months' time, depending on how the people listening to this kind of listen to this advice. And we'll be sitting there and we'll be saying, okay, Hammond, so to get from to get from 100 to a million.
What is the thing? Different structure, by the way. It's not the same. I didn't look at only the weekly thing. I looked at other things.
Correct. No, it's just very exciting because it's just part of the game. You know what I mean? It's like you from 10 to 100. It's like you want to tell yourself that there are different things to do, and so you kind of get distracted and do all these other things, and then from 100 to a million, there actually are a lot of different things that you need to do and problems you need to solve. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a different conversation as well. So I'm super excited to start kind of moving into that conversation as a lot more of our brands get 100K, 200K per month and beyond. It's very, very exciting times. Yeah.
Absolutely. And all the brands we mentioned, hey, take this as a kind of a structure to optimize your business. I know I mentioned some things, we mentioned some brands that we have, but it's really giving them kind of direction on what to look for rather than just, hey, this is just focus on one thing. You need to look at, okay, what's the map? 0 to 100K, we're going to build the volume, and then 100 to 200K, probably that's the next level. There are other things, but don't focus on the 100 to 200 while you're not at the 100K level. So organize a little bit your focus. Woman with the red dress gets more attention all the time, but you want to really focus on your business and scale.
Love it. Look, this has been really valuable, Hammond, and I hope for everybody listening, this has been helpful for you as well. And I hope that a lot of the conversations that we've had and references and stories and, you know, these types of experiences that Hammond's had and I've also had through, you know, the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years, I imagine, almost of, you know, having problems and solving problems like this over and over and over again for ourselves and then also for clients, that you can connect with these things and you can actually see these things as like a signal for you to continue doing some of the things that we are just repeating over and over. It's like, I always think about it from this perspective. I'm like, sometimes I think that people, like, they might listen to, you know, for example, conversations like this or podcasts in general, and they're like, yeah, I don't really believe what they're saying. There must be something else. They're withholding the true secret. You know what I mean? And it's
We're
like,
keeping it.
there's,
Like, hey, but join the mastermind. If you join the mastermind, I will probably you discover more. That's for sure.
well, that's a very true secret. Exposure and proximity is probably the best secret that we can give you. The amount of time and attention that you can have around this type of conversation definitely will lift your game a lot faster. So, no, very good conversation, Hammond. I've really enjoyed this, and I hope this is helpful again for everybody listening to get to that 100K level. Use this as a bit of a playbook, as a bit of a blueprint that you can actually install piece by piece. And you must just train your mind to just say no to all of those things. But very excited to continue progressing and growing, Hammond, and seeing the brands continue to progress and grow. Any final words from yourself in terms of that the founders need to know?
Absolutely. So yeah, first really great episode looking at the volume that you need to look at in terms of ad spend inputs. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. So last 7 days, like what's the percentage? Are you moving forward, stagnating, or actually decreasing the ad spend? The solution is increasing the ad spend, but there is actually like kind of a thing to mention here is increase the ad spend when you have the right inputs. It's not just increase the ad spend randomly. That doesn't get you anywhere. You need to fix the creatives, fix the offer, increase the ad spend, split test, and scale from there. Ignore all the noise, PR, new products, distraction, platforms, placements, all of that. Just decrease kind of all this kind of inputs and focus on, you have limited resources. We don't have unlimited resources. So focus on your ad spend, what's working, scale it more or fix it to scale it more rather than just, I'll do all these things and I'll make much more money. It's not going to happen. at least from my experience, it's really always distracting and not giving you the returns. So focus on that, scale more. And then obviously, once you get to 100K, we're going to talk about things that would help you unlock that 200K. We're going to help you along the way. I know driving the darkness is difficult, but I'll tell you the map, and all you have to just go and cruise.
Very good. Love it. Fantastic. Look forward to seeing you again next week. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and all those good things. And if you do want some help to grow your brand, feel free to reach out to us via the website or any of the links below this video. Thanks so much, Hamen. I'll see you again next week.
Amazing. See you soon.